What is going on, guys? This is the Club of the Man 1993, back here for some more baseball news. In the midst of all these videos talking about stuff that happened during the winter meetings, we actually got our first Hall of Fame inductee that I didn't even think about considering talking about. As you know, after you are not voted in by the writers for a National Baseball Hall of Fame with a 10-year ballot and whatnot, there's other committees that can vote people in, and one of them is called the Veterans Committee, which is a 16-person committee that has a few players that they vote on every year. There are rules to it, of course, that I had just seen, that you can basically be up as a candidate every so often, and you have to get 12 of the 16 votes to be inducted into the National Baseball Hall of Fame. Now, you're not as recognized, of course, as you would be, of course, if you would get inducted from the Writers Association and whatnot, which is, of course, the 10-year ballot and whatnot. But there's still other ways to get in. And the person who got voted in this year was the crime dog, Fred McGriff, who is one of the few players in baseball history, I believe, from what I've read before. It's going to change things. It was a while. I think he's one of 3 players in baseball history to hit 30 home runs in a season 10 times and not get voted into the Hall of Fame. I mean, and not get to 500 home runs. And I believe besides him, the other 2 are Lou Gehrig and Carlos Delgado. Gehrig, who just like McGriff, had 493 career home runs, and then Delgado had 473. I think Delgado would have gotten it if his career didn't get hampered by injuries at the very end. Fred McGriff, though, he does have one season that people do say might have hurt his chances of getting voted in earlier. But anyways, so the crime dog again was part of was part of the vote. Again, you have to get 12 votes in this committee to be able to be voted into the Hall of Fame. He was nominated. The next closest was Don Mattingly, who just recently have a new position as the Rangers bench coach after being with the Marlins for some time as their manager. He got 8 votes. Curt Schilling, who was on his 10th year of the ballot last year, got 7. Dale Murphy with 6. And then the other candidates, which listen to these names: Albert Bell, Barry Bonds, Roger Clemens, and Rafael Palmeiro, each got fewer than 4 votes. Ouch. So I guess they're not going to, some of those guys are going to get in so easy now, huh? But anyways, McGriff, he is a career .284 hitter, 493 home runs, and he played over a 19-year career from 1986 to 2004. He was with the Blue Jays, Padres, Braves, Rays, which he's from Tampa Bay, and a brief stint with the Cubs and Dodgers towards the end of his career. Of course, his best times, of course, was in the mid-90s with the Braves, especially in 1995 when he won a World Series ring. And he was also a 5-time All-Star, 3 Silver Sluggers, 6 top 10 finishes in MVP voting, which his highest was when he finished 4th in the 1993 season, split between the Padres and the Braves. McGriff was originally drafted by the Yankees in the 9th round of 1981, but he was dealt to the Blue Jays in 1992 as part of a trade that longtime Bronx fans still remember with regret. Ironically, Don Mattingly's presence as the Yankees' first baseman of the future was one of the reasons the Yankees was comfortable in dealing Fred McGriff. And he would, of course, blossom as a star when he came with the Blue Jays to start his career. And then he was then traded to the Padres in one of baseball's most memorable blockbuster trades, as the Blue Jays sent McGriff and Tony Fernandez to the Padres for Roberto Alomar and Joe Carter. And of course, which was a good setup for the Blue Jays winning back-to-back world titles in 92 and 93. Of course, Joe Carter hit the walk-off homer in Game 6 to win the 93 World Series. just a few weeks, or either a few weeks or right before, after I was born, I believe it was. Yeah, it had to be after I was born. Of course, the Padres though then faded quickly, and he was part of a fire sale of '93 in which the Braves then picked him up. And again, I feel McGriff probably, which team he would pick, would probably pick the Braves in my opinion, unless he goes to Tampa Bay, because he was with Tampa Bay for a while too, and that's his hometown. Could be one of the first ones to go voted in Tampa Bay, but I feel like going by his best seasons, definitely probably the Braves. Over his career in the postseason, though, McGriff swung very well. He had .303 with 10 homers in 218 plate appearances in the playoffs. He, of course, would then join the expansion Tampa Bay Devil Rays, not Rays yet, in '98. And he played over 5 seasons. And then, of course, he had stints with the Cubs and Dodgers. And then he returned to Tampa Bay in his last season, 2004, as like a part-time player or whatnot. And he was still, again, a very well above average hitter until he reached his late 30s. McGriff definitely, I would say, is definitely an underrated player. Pretty consistent player as well. I don't think he ever got I think he got to like 35 or 36 homers. I think in '94, he got like, in the strike short in '94, he got like 34 home runs. So he could have gotten to 40 that year. Of course, with that strike, a lot of people say that could be the reason why Fred McGriff came up just short for Cooperstown, because if that season would have lasted, he probably would have gotten to 500 home runs. But of course, also the reason why he may have not gotten to 75% was because he was just stuck in a bunch of candidates. A lot of big names at the time too. So it's like he definitely, of course, could have gotten in, but just there were some other names who were on the ballot too that got some, got some attention too. But again, so to explain this committee, the Veterans Committee is an annual panel of rotating members organized by the Hall of Fame every year to gauge the cases of players who weren't elected or considered by the writers, or non-playing personnel who aren't part of the writers' ballot. Candidates are considered from the contemporary baseball, 1980 to the present, and classic baseball, 1980 and earlier time periods, and broken down into 3-year rotations. So contemporary baseball players get 2022, 2025, basically every 3 years. So the guys who were on it this year could be on the ballot again in 3 years. And then, basically every other year, it's like they do players, and then the next year they're going to do managers, executives, and umpires, and then the following year it'll be classic baseball, all candidates. So some of these guys, again, may, get a shot, every 2 years, every 3 years, could be considered on this committee. So they rotate around a little bit. So, of course, most of these guys, though, who didn't get voted will have to wait until December 2025 to see if they even get the chance again. But yeah, as far as, Fred McGriff goes, I definitely agree. Consistent player. He's one of the few, of course, on that list that didn't have much controversy to his name also. So that's probably why he probably stood out this time. But yeah, give him the Hall of Fame. He deserves it. Again, consistent hitter. He was a big part of the Braves run in the mid-90s. Was a good way to help start, even though Tampa Bay, was a losing team in, I think, like 8 of its first 9 seasons or something. They placed last in like 8 of their first 9 seasons until 2007, whenever they got their first winning season and were the American League pennant winners. But yeah, consistent player. Another thing people might have heard him was that he didn't really have. He bounced around a little bit, yes. He's probably he had probably his best years with the Braves, I would say. I agree. But he's like Sheffield a little bit. He bounced, not as much as Sheffield, but he bounced around also quite a bit. He didn't really have like a long-term team like Mike Schmidt would, or like David Ortiz. Well, Ortiz was with the Twins for a bit, but you know what I mean. Like, he wasn't didn't have a very long run with one specific team, which could have hurt the Crime Dog a little also. But yeah, I think I'm happy to see him get in the Hall of Fame. Again, some of those other guys, maybe eventually, but of course, they'll have to wait for a couple years. So we'll see, of course, what happens further on down the line. And guys, with that being said, that's my thoughts on Fred McGriff being voted into the Baseball Hall of Fame by the Veterans Committee. I believe it was. He was voted in by. Again, we still, of course, have, the Writers Committee, of course, who will vote on, the big ballot coming up next month. So we'll see who gets in next month. We could see, Carlos Beltran, Frankie Rodriguez, maybe. Scott Rowland and Todd Helton were up on the rise. Andrew Jones up on the rise. Billy Wagner is close there, too. We'll see. We'll see who else gets in this year. Make sure you guys leave your thoughts down in the comments section below. And be sure, as always, to slap a like on the video and subscribe to our content on my channel. Follow me on Twitter as well at DemandAirboy93. I'm sorry, at the Club of Demand93. Still not used to that yet. I will be, though. So until then, guys, I'm checking out. I'll catch you all later. Have a great rest of your night. And peace out, everybody.